Instructional design is a very important area of study in today's world, especially for the educators. What is instructional design? If we see the term, it means designing of the instruction. It is used and it is applied not only in the formal classrooms, whether it is school or at a higher education, but instructional design is applied in the training sessions or the training programs. It is applied for the development of the courses, which is a very important aspect of open and distance learning. And these days instructional design is applied for the e-learning, that is the online learning. There are several models of instructional design. So today in this video we will be learning about the ADDIE model of instructional design. So after watching this video you will be able to firstly name instructional design models. Secondly, you will be able to list components of the ADDIE model and describe each component of the ADDIE model. Now, if we see what is instructional design models, you will find out there are several models under the instructional design. And if I say so, and the literature shows that there are almost more than 100 design models available. Some of them are like the Dick and the Carey model, the Robert Gaine model, which is a pedagogical model used specially for the classroom instruction. The third is the ARCS model. Next is the Riglut's elaboration theory and the Ramizarsky's model. These are the very few models which are listed here. But today in this video we will be learning about the ADDIE model. If we say how it came, the instructional system designs came long time back in 1950s. But the ADDIE model came into existence in 1975 when the US Army wanted to train their people for the quality and the efficiency. At that time, in 1975, the ADDIE model was developed and it was created by the Center for Education Technology, Florida State University, USA. Since then, it developed and it came into many phases or it was changed. And now this is the model which is used by majority of the educators. Why it is so important? Because the ADDIE model is a very generic model. Secondly, it is a very systematic type of a model where you can use it in the classroom, you can use it for your training sessions, you can even use it for the production of your audio and visuals, or if I say audio and video programs. And secondly and lastly, it is a step-by-step framework. We will learn why we say it is a step-by-step framework. Now, why and where it is used? Basically, all these models are being used by the instructional designers. Who are instructional designers? Those who design the instruction. So if we see that instructional designers use this model in the training programs, in the development of the training programs, in the conduct of the training programs, or in the course development, as I just said that in the open and distance education we develop the courses. Even in the formal system, courses are developed. And lastly, it is being used in the e-learning. Instructional designers are using this model for the e-learning, or we say online learning programs. What is ADDIE stands for? Let us see one by one. A stands for analysis, D stands for design, D again stands for development, I stands for implementation and E stands for evaluation. So this ADDIE model has five different phases, which are analysis, design, development, implementation and evaluation. Now let us understand each model or each stage one by one. One is the analyze or analysis. What is analyze or what is analysis? Under analysis, again there are sub phases, if I say so. The first phase is called the need analysis. The term itself you will understand. What is analysis? It means you are analyzing something. So what are those things you are analyzing? One is the need analysis. Under need analysis, what is the analysis we do? Firstly, we try to understand what is the problem, what is the need to understand that, and is there a solution needed, is there a solution required. That's called a need analysis. Let me explain it with an example. Suppose one has to conduct a training program. So one has to decide what is the need of a training program. Like why we need to train the teachers in instructional design. So that's what the thing is. The problem is that teachers, we are not able to deliver what it is required if we want to reform our classrooms. So that is the problem and that is the need, and we need a solution. Hence, the first important subcategory or sub-phase under analysis is the need analysis of anything like a training or a course development or even in the classroom. Next to need analysis is the learner analysis. Who is going to come to your training program? Who is going to read your course? Who is going to watch or undergo an online program? So under learner analysis, what do we see? We see who is the course for. I have given the example here. If you see it on the screen, I am talking about the course development aspect. The same thing can be applied for the training program or for the e-learning or for online development of the online courses or the programs. So under the learner analysis, you have to identify, you have to analyze who is your learner. You have to find out what are the characteristics of the learners. For example, what is their age? Can vary. Online learning, suppose if you say an online learning, a 15-year-old or a 50-year-old or a 90-year-old learner can also watch or undergo or learn through an online program. What is their background? What is their knowledge? What is their skills? What are their behaviors? So these are several characteristics of learners when you undergo or you analyze your learner. Content, the next point under the learner analysis is what will your content? What will content you will be giving to your learners? If the learners are only graduates, what content? If the learners are postgraduates, the content will be different. In the training program, if the learners are at the senior level, your content will be different. So under the learner analysis, you have to decide what the content will be. Next point under the learner analysis is what your instructional strategies will be. That is what you have to do the analysis. For younger children, your strategies, your instructional strategies will be different than the adult learners. So that's very important what you analyze under the learners. What examples you will give? It has to be related to the life situations, what is written in the textbook, what is written in the learning material, and what are the other certain examples which are relevant. That's what under the learner analysis we have to point it out. And the last point is very important. What is the language? Language has to be simple, it has to be not a flowery language, it has to be a well written, no spelling mistakes, no grammatical mistakes, and so on. So under analysis, the first phase, or I say sub phase, is the need analysis. Second phase is the learner analysis. Now coming to the third phase under the analysis phase is the task analysis. Task analysis means if there is certain task, what are the further activities under that task. So let us see what we have to find out under the task analysis. Here you have to identify the activities what the learners needed. Based on the learner's performance, you have to identify the activities. Then you have to identify the design, which will go into the design phase. Next subcategory or the phase is the context analysis. Under context analysis, you have to examine the conditions. Very important here is your condition, if I say so, is your learning environment. If just think of a situation in a school where the school building or the furniture or the learning room, there is no light, there is no electricity, what will be the condition of the learning? I am sure the students or the learners, they will not be able to learn if that is the situation in a formal classroom. So your context is very important, that under which conditions one will be learning. So the first phase of the ADDIE model is an important, where you do a complete analysis of all these four phases. If you see the literature on ADDIE, many writers or many authors have given different type of subcategories. So for us, these are the few subcategories or points which are listed here. You can go and find it out, read it in the textbooks or reference books, go to the library, or you can find it out a lot of literature online. Next phase is the design phase under ADDIE model. What is under the design phase? Firstly, we have to find out the knowledge level of the learner. What is the knowledge level of the learner? Existing knowledge. Like in any situation, if you see, we say it's the pre-knowledge. What is, when they come to a training program, what knowledge they have. Secondly, under the design phase, you have to develop the learning outcomes. That is very important. That is, how do you develop the learning objectives? That what is expected of the learners, that is come under the design phase. The third aspect under the design phase is the structure the learning activities. Your learning activities cannot be haphazard. It has to be a structured learning activities. It has to be predefined activities under the design phase. That's very important. The next point when we say under this model is you design the assessment. What kind of assessment you will be using, whether it will be subjective, whether it will be objective, under subjective whether it will be essay type, under objective whether it will be short answer, it will be true false, it will be fill in the blanks, it will be multiple choice, and so on. So when you are designing your instruction in this phase, you have to see what you are designing, how you are designing the assessment. And lastly, you review the design components. Why it is necessary to review the design components? Because you can see what is the knowledge of the learners, what are the learning objectives written, how do you have developed those, what will be the learning activities, and what are the design of the assessment. So design phase includes all these sub phases. The next phase in the ADDIE model is the development phase. what is the development phase and how do you do it? As simply the word shows or the word means is how do you develop it, your instruction. So development includes the activities for the target audience. Very, very important. How do you develop those activities? For school growing children or for adults, for in colleges or in universities, or when your learners come for your training programs, that's your target audience. So you have to develop activities at that level. So once you see what we talked, what you learn in the Bloom's taxonomy is few activities are at the lower level, certain activities are at the higher level of learning or even thinking. So under the development phase, you list the activities for your target audience, keeping your target audience in mind. Next is you have to select the most appropriate method. The most appropriate method here, what we mean is, if it requires in a classroom lecture method, that can be, but it has to be structured method. Certain activities will require you have to go to field work. Others will require certain practical things. Other activities will require demonstration. Again, the method will depend upon the level of your learners or their target audience as it is listed in the first point. So, what you are going to do under the development is you are selecting the most appropriate method for your target audience. Next point here is you are producing your instructional aids. What are your instructional aids and how do you produce it? You can produce it, the teacher or the trainer can produce the instructional aids by themselves, or it can be obtained from outside, from other resources. You can use a YouTube, you can have a PowerPoint presentation and anything. Such instructional aids will be there under the development phase. Next is under the development is you validate the material. In all the points, one has to validate the material, whether they are according to your objectives which were earlier done in the earlier phase, or the material or the assessment you have to validate it. Very important aspect under the development part is. The next sub-phase or the point which you have to keep it in mind under the development is you have to develop your resources. How do you develop your resources? Can be on your own or you have to find it out from some external places and then put it under the development. So these are a few points under the development phase of the ADDIE model. Whether you are conducting a training program or it is in a classroom or you are producing an audio program or a video program, the development phase is very, very important. All the phases are important, so one has to keep it in mind, all these points when you are developing these phases and using the ADDIE model. Next here is, if you see, is the I. I means the implementation part of it. How do you implement this? You have analyzed, you have done the designing, you have done the development. Now comes the implementation part of it. Like for an example, if I say in a training program, you have analyzed who are your learners, you have designed your training program, you have developed the resources. Now comes the actual training. That's what it's called, the implementation part. So what's important or what are the points one should keep it in mind under the implementation? Firstly, we need to prepare a schedule. Like if you are developing MOOCs program or you are developing video programs, I am sure each organization or each individual will prepare a schedule. That is very important, what we are going to do and what will help in preparing the schedule, or it will help in the implementation aspect. The second will be you provide a document which is related to the design aspect. When you design certain thing, based on the design you will prepare a document. In the implementation you are providing that document to the trainer, to the teacher, or those who are developing the online programs. So that's very important. Based on your design document, provide that document during the implementation phase. Next is preparing the learning environment. I can give you an example, a very relevant example, and which is used here while we are designing, developing, implementing this video. The whole studio environment is being prepared. So when you are implementing, like when I am speaking right now, I have prepared, or my colleagues have prepared, the learning environment, that how it is. Like suppose in a classroom you prepare, you put an OHP, you put a projector, you put a computer to transact those your teaching learning. So under the implementation you prepare the learning environment, and that's a very important aspect of implementation. The next point is under the implementation is your delivery. How you are going to deliver it. Like this video program, how the video presenter is delivering it, the presentation part of it. In a classroom, how the teacher is delivering it. Like in an online program, how the content is delivered. That's the important point under the implementation of this model or any activity. The next and the last point or the category or the phase under the ADDIE model is your evaluation. And I am sure all of you know what evaluation we mean by. Just this, if you see this, it's thumbs up, it means it's very good, and the other red picture is if it says it goes down, it says it's not good. So what you mean? The training program didn't go well, or the training program was very well done, the video program was developed, designed, implemented very well, or it has gone down, something went wrong. That's what under the evaluation. And the last aspect or the last point or the last phase we do, the educators do. What comes under evaluation? As evaluation is both formative evaluation as well as summative evaluation. What is formative evaluation is that at each point you do whether, or you try to understand whether the educator, whether the trainer, whether the developer is following the phases of the ADDIE model, or following whether it is going right or it is going wrong. That is called formative evaluation. What is summative evaluation? Summative evaluation is, if I give an example, at the end of the class or grade, if I say we conduct, the teachers conduct, the schools conducts, the university conducts an end term and examination. That is after going through, learning through 1 year what the assessment is. That's called the summative evaluation. So any program, whether it is a training program, whether it is an online development of the course, or it is a print material development of the course, the evaluation aspect, both formative evaluation as well as the summative evaluation, is very important. What do we do in the evaluation? We review and evaluate each phase. Now, what will you see? Whether analysis, if we say whether we were able to identify the characteristics of the learners. The first point, as you see on the screen, it says review and evaluate each phase. If I give you an example, the first phase analysis, we did a analysis of the learner's characteristics. So can we find out, can we evaluate whether we were able to find out the characteristics or whether we were able to find out the learner's characteristics? Second important point is, like if we say whether we were able to evaluate or whether we were able to find out whether the choice of our learning activities, the choice of our assessments, whether they were proper or not. That's what in the first review and evaluation of each phase is very important. Second point, what we do under the evaluation is, can be perform some external evaluations. External evaluations are important because you see it with others' external expert eye, and what I can go wrong during my planning, whether it is analysis, design, development, implementation, if I see it from others' eye, I can revise all the phases. That's what it is meant by the performing external evaluations. If you see all the projects, whether it is given by some international agencies, like let me give an example, like the SSA, someone else evaluates that whether the project is being implemented right, whether the analysis was done, and the last phase or the last point under evaluation is you do the revision. Based on your evaluation, you can revise each phase. So just to point it out, the ADDIE model, there are many ways it is projected or it is given, or it is, you can find it out on the internet. If you see the arrows, it shows evaluation you can do of design, evaluation you can do of implementation, evaluation you can do of development, and evaluation you can do of analysis. So basically the most important point of ADDIE model is that it is not linear, that you do have to analyze, you have to design, you have to develop, implement or evaluate. It can be in circular. A teacher can begin from the design model also. So that is the important aspect of what the ADDIE model is, and that's why everyone uses this. Educators especially, they use the ADDIE model. Let us summarize what we did or what we learned in this video. That is, ADDIE model is very well accepted. Purpose of analysis phase is to collect information. In the third design process, detailed outline is given. Development stages where the design document is given, and the next, the implementation phase is where it is based on the design, launch is done, and the last is the evaluation phase which provides the feedback. So that is what we learned in this video.